You're watching Picks on Politics.
We are quickly approaching October 7th, which will mark 1 year since the deadly attack on Israel by Hamas. More than 1,200 people, the majority of which were Israeli, but some Americans, were killed in the attacks last year. There are still some 100 people being held hostage by Hamas, according to the Israeli government. The Palestinian Health Authority, which is run by Hamas, says more than 41,000 people have been killed in Gaza during the war that followed. And it's a war that appears to be widening into Lebanon, with Israeli strikes on terror groups there and then sparking return fire by Iran in rockets that were intercepted in part by the United States and Israel. Here in New York, the war in the Middle East has led to protests, encampments, arrests, and divisions between New Yorkers. October 7th, Palestinian protests are planning to, quote, flood the city in protest of the war. And Jewish New Yorkers, in the meantime, are planning somber remembrances. It's stepping into the middle of that tension, as they always do and will do time and time again, the men and women of the NYPD. So today we have NYPD Chief Patrol John Chell here to talk about some of the steps police are taking to keep New Yorkers safe that day. Chief Chell, thanks for joining us.
My
Good
pleasure,
to see you.
my pleasure.
So before we get into all of October 7th, but somewhat related, there's concern from the governor on down that things are running well with the mayor facing these federal indictments. Is everything going well as far as planning for big events like October 7th?
Everything's going just fine. Crime is still coming down. Cops are working. And in terms of the protests, we just hit 4,100 for the last 11 months. We are continuing to protect the city from all protests, protect New Yorkers, and the show goes on, and NYPD is ready to go.
It seems like October 7th, though, is going to be a unique challenge with this being all over the city. We've heard that there's a big moving protest that's kind of going south to north in Manhattan. College campuses, we know that's been an area of concern. What sort of prep work are you guys doing?
So in terms of college campuses, we're in touch with our CUNY partners like we were last year, and we'll be ready for that. In terms of just everyday protests, I said 4,100, 12, 13 a day. There's an event in Central Park, pro-Israel event. We're expecting protesters to try to come down there. And we'll be ready. And we always have. Every day we're doing protests. So keeping the city safe. And we say, look, you want to protest, we'll give you that right. You exercise your First Amendment right. And we'll protect you also. But the minute it crosses over into assaults, destruction of property, lighting flares, inconveniencing New Yorkers, we're going to do everything in our power to mitigate that. And that's been our stance for the last 11 months.
Is what you're hearing, this is more of a situation where you're dealing with policing protests, which you just outlined you guys are well versed in. Are there any specific threats, though? Because we are dealing with pretty inflamed passions here.
You know, I get this question a lot. Direct threats, no. But let's be real. At this point in time, with the turmoil overseas, our ex-president's trying to kill the ex-president, we're in a different world now. So in New York City, everything comes back here, right? Everything comes back to New York City. So we're always at a heightened alert. We'd rather start very high and come low than the opposite. And that's how we proceed. And that's how we keep the city safe.
Talk to me about college campuses in particular, because I was with the mayor and a group of concerned Jewish students just about 2 weeks ago at this point, and they were saying you guys need a specific call to enter campus, even CUNY campuses. Are you encouraging presidents to make that call a little bit sooner, even if there's nothing criminal yet, it's just pretty big and something might happen?
Look, in terms of the rules on college campuses as it relates to the administration and the administrative rules that the kids break or don't, that's their business. But when it comes to crime, no, we're not going to stop. We will come on your campus and address crime, and that's the difference. Private property is fine. Colleges adjudicate that. But when it comes to crime, no, we're coming on the campus to affect that. So it's a partnership.
On days like these, I know you guys always say there are resources you will see and there are resources you won't see. But with so much going on, is there an emphasis on resources you will see to communicate the message, hey, don't step out of line here, you know, let's keep this peaceful?
Absolutely. We came off UN General Assembly. We want people to see us. We just came off the Jewish holidays. We want people to see us. And for October 7th, we want people. That omnipresence in itself, standing tall, using the media to help us get the message out, is a crime prevention piece in itself. And it works at times.
You said you've done a lot of work, you know, in the last year on better control and setting up barriers and blockades. And I imagine that it's pretty predictable scenario in this case, perhaps a group of Jewish worshipers or Jewish counter-protesters and pro-Palestinian protesters. What changes have you made?
Well, just in who we use to do the protest. We use better trained cops than the normal cop, if you will. Better configuration of barriers. Better communication with the organizers. You know, where can we meet in the middle where you get what you want, your First Amendment, and we get what we want, safety in the city. So every protest we learn something new. And we don't want to practice this way, but since we are doing it, it's great practice to get better and better. And again, it's all under the banner of keeping the city safe, not inconvenienced, and also letting people practice their First Amendment.
And you mentioned not inconvenienced. We saw some big protests about a year ago in Grand Central, some other sort of public right-of-ways. Where do you decide to try to let normal people that maybe want to go home through Grand Central, for example, get through versus intervening in a big 1,000 protest that's more harm than good? How do you make that decision?
Well, we'll figure out passageways to get the everyday New Yorker to their destination safely. How do we cordon off the protests to give them their space to do what they want to do? But again, we can't lock up 10,000 people at a time.
Yeah. So
we pick our spots how we're going to do this. And I think we've been very successful since October 7th. And people are watch what New York City does. And I think, again, like you said before, we learn, we get better. And sometimes, like I said, we can't lock up 10,000 people.
Yeah.
But we try to split that difference.
Well, Chief Chell, you and your team have safe tours out there. Thank you for taking some time to educate the public out there. This election day, New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is facing a challenge from Republican challenger Mike Sapricone. Hear from both candidates as they talk about some of the most important issues of the day. That's ahead.